Good evening, everyone. This is Brian with Copycat Trading, and this is Friday, January the 19th, 2024, and here is your daily brief on the markets. We're going to start off with the S&P 500, and as I was talking about the last few days, the S&P 500 was going in this consolidation pattern. It was kind of a wonky consolidation pattern as it was going up, but it wound up breaking through its all-time highs today, and so we will see where it goes from here. But its all-time highs were broken today, and so as it goes up, and there was the closing of the bell right there, and the market busted right through that and just never looked back. And we did it with some pretty good volume too. The volume today is 97 million, so we're going to be over 100 million by the time we get done with post-market trading and include the pre-market trading. But we're at 97 million, and we are up 1.23%, $5.87 on the SPY. And if you look at the intraday market here, or what it looked like, this is our pre-market trading. And let me just take that off so we can look at it a little bit clearer. And we got in the pre-market trading right around in here. And here's started off with a little small gap up, and it just never looked back. It just started going up. And it never did look back. And you can see that the few times that it did pull back, just basically had a 3-bar pullback and just raced back up. Went right through the all-time highs, had a small pullback. I played this particular pullback right here for a 50-cent gain, and then it came up and made two topping tails right in here, and I played that one, and I played this one here for about a 25 to 50-cent gain as well. So we had a little bit of a play here on the SPY as it shallowed out near the end of the day, but overall making new all-time highs on the SPY. The QQQ had much the same exact look, and it just broke through the all-time highs, actually gapped up above the all-time highs before it ever even started the day, and just raced up, never even looked back, and it took everything with it. Everything across the board as far as the Magnificent Seven and all the tech sector was green, with the exception of just a few things like Tesla, and so we'll take a look at that in a minute. The Russell 2000 retraced right back to the bottom of that trend line that I have here, of that bearish flag, and so we'll see what happens on that on Monday. It could roll back over, or it could punch right through there. If it gets back up into this level from this bear flag, that's a bullish signal. And of course, it came down to its 50 MA, and it looked like it might go through its 50 MA, but it has done a really good job at that 50 MA of bouncing back off of there. So the Russell, if it gets up into this bear flag and surpasses that bear flag and gets out of it, then that's a bullish sign for the Russell. But a lot of times what things will do is it'll retrace up to where the flag started, and then it'll roll back over. So we'll have to wait and see what happens. But nonetheless, there's still quite a bit of support down here around the 184 level if it comes back down there. Gold really didn't do too much today, with only 0.27% increase, and it's just basically hanging out kind of flat. Silver, about the same thing, except for silver was further down today. Silver did not make a gain. It was down 0.64%, or 14 cents. Natural gas, as we're looking at the natural gas chart, natural gas continues to break through all these support lines, and that's what happens to a chart. Natural gas is known as pretty whipsawy, and whenever it gets a rapid run up, then sometimes it'll get a rapid run down, and you can see that all throughout the chart. Anytime it gets a rapid run up or a rapid run down, it has a whipsaw back and forth. So it's just the nature of natural gas, and that's the way things trade. So that's the reason why you use smaller positions, and then whenever it comes up, you unload the 90% of your position and only have 10% left. That's what I did. So I just added on a little bit. I'm not adding on here. I'm waiting to see where the bottom comes in, and waiting for a pattern before I add on any more and look for the next run up. But that's what natural gas is doing at this point. Next level of support is right down here around $202.20. And so we'll see what happens there. And that is a long-term trend line, as you can see, going way back here all the way to June of 2021. The ultimate lows are down here around $2.05. But we've got to get past this low before we do anything else. But anyway, it dumped out pretty good. And on, just regular volume. It wasn't anything heavy. But we'll see what happens over the coming days. U.S. oil. Oil is still in this flag pattern, and it just hits the top of this support, and it hits the bottom of, or it hits the top of the resistance, hits the bottom of the support, and just keeps on going back and forth. And eventually, this wedge has got to break somewhere probably around February 6th is about the longest it can stay inside of this wedge pattern, and so we'll see what happens with oil. Bitcoin retraced back to its bear flag just like the IWM did, and it barely closed. I can't really tell. Let's see if we look at the chart here of whether it closed. It barely closed. It still closed right on the trend line. I mean, not even not above it, not below it. It is right on the trend line. So if it continues up, and I think it closes, if I'm not mistaken, at 8 p.m., but if it closes above this and into this bearish bear flag area, that's bullish for Bitcoin. If it continues on, or if it rejects off of that trend line, then that is bearish for Bitcoin. And the next level of support is still down in here. As far as the semiconductors go, semiconductors were on fire as usual. They have broken all through the trend lines, and like I've told you before, the upper range of these parallel channels are only for reference only. You never want to short off of these things unless you are really prepared to stop out. But they broke right through the upper range of this parallel channel here. And of course, NVIDIA was one of the leading semiconductors that went up, and I was using this as a measured move, as you know, with $113.18, and seeing whether or not this would make an exact parallel measured move, and nope, it did not. It broke right through the 585 that I had it target at, and 595. So I would say the 600 even number is our next target, and it should reach that tomorrow, or excuse me, on Monday, if everything continues to go up, and we'll just have to wait and see. Big story of the day was SMCI. And SMCI broke all-time highs as well. Let me get this stuff off of here so we can take a look at it a little better. SMCI's all-time highs were right in this area right here. And it broke through there and it ran up. And you can see how much it ran up, 35.94%. An absolutely huge run, $111.90. Just a massive run on SMCI. It gapped up, went through the all-time highs and just continued to go up and pulled back just a little bit and just kind of hung out with the market the rest of the day. And you can kind of see what it did. Just kind of pulled back here and then just drifted up real slowly. But look at this heavy volume on this initial run. And this was from the news that SMCI is a semiconductor, and this is on the news that it's going to be using AI to develop some new chips in the future, and it guided higher. So that's the reason why we had this meteoric rise. Now, earnings are coming out on January 29th, so we'll see whether or not this meteoric rise is answered by a meteoric fall, or whether or not this can actually continue to go up. We'll see. SMCI is a very whippy stock, but look at the volume. It's the highest volume I've ever seen in SMCI, and that's 23 million in one day, and that is way above its average. Its average is around 4 to 5 million. So relatively thin on the rest of the semiconductors compared to the rest of semiconductors, but boy, today it really made up for it. Apple got a big jump today, and of course this is the jump that I was predicting way back here, and I actually bought in down here and then set my stop a little bit too close. I should have set my stop further back, but I got stopped out of this, but still made that run that I was looking for, and probably look for it to be challenged right here at this gap fill. And we'll see what happens whenever it gets there. But right now, the trend is turning back up. It's not quite an uptrend on the daily. On the weekly, it is still an uptrend. But on the daily, it is not quite turned back up to an uptrend. So we'll see what happens. Apple is in kind of an in-between place right now. But I certainly wouldn't short it at this point. Tesla, on the other hand, that line of support that I had drawn all the way back here from April of 2023, going through the lows of October of 2023, Tesla hit it and pierced it yesterday, and then gapped below it this morning, and then came up and captured it again. We'll see whether or not this support level holds or not, but if it loses this support level, we could be looking at around 194, 195, this double bottom down here, and that'll be your next level support on Tesla if it comes down. I am in this trade, and I actually averaged down. I think I'm right at around 213, and I've got a very small position because I'm just looking at kind of a longer term view on this, and a very short thing. But if it comes up, I'll probably unload right here, or maybe even at this gap on Tesla. But this is the level of support. This is your level of resistance. Resistance right up here at this gap, and this downsloping trend line, and this downsloping trend line. So anyway, that's Tesla. I'll probably unload half as in here, just like I would do with Apple, and watch the rest of it maybe for this last downsloping trend line here. Microsoft didn't look back. Again, it's at all-time highs. There's so many of these that are at all-time highs. There's very little you can say to them. This is going to be, of course, your first level of support on here if it turns back around and comes down and retraces, and we'll just see what the condition of the market is in that time. But we got a strong uptrend or an uptrend, and it's at all-time highs, so you can't really say much about Microsoft other than it's just keeping going. Meta today continued its uptrend, and I believe that is marking its all-time highs there. As a matter of fact, I was getting ready to short that today, but it wound up pulling back before it got there. So I was getting ready to pull a short on it right here, but there's the all-time highs. This is your 10-minute chart, and it was coming up to the all-time highs, and it just backed off right before it got up there, so I wasn't able to do that. But it eventually reached that all-time high, pierced it just a hair, and then came back down for a beautiful pullback. But I was too much of a chicken to pull a short on it that late in the day. So we're right at the all-time highs, and we'll see what happens with Meta coming up next week. Netflix had a small pullback today, not very much, but it was one of the few of the Fabulous 7 or Fabulous 8 or Magnificent 7 or however they're calling it these days. It was down 0.49%. And then lastly, we got Google here, and Google is just racing up as well. Nice gap up today and run. The whole market just seemed to be rejoicing today, and we'll see what happens next week. I'm going to probably do some few education videos on what the difference is between fundamental analysis and what technical analysis is. We primarily do technical analysis here on these videos, but I'll show you what some of the fundamentalists are saying. And so we'll take a look at that as time goes by. But until then, if you'd like to see some other things covered in these daily videos, just let me know, and I'll see if I can include them on the daily videos. Other than that, this is Copycat Trader signing off for the day. Today is January the 19th, 2024, and I will see you all on Monday. Have a great day, everybody.